What's up, Internet world? Matthew here. It is another perfectly picturesque autumn day here on Long Island. I'm at one of my favorite natural haunts, the Muttontown Preserve. And if you think back to last week's Instagram when I gave a little peek at me filming today, you might recall that I am currently not standing on the ground. I'm on top of a beautiful felled tree. I think this was a pine at one time. It's very wide. It's nice. I'm about 6 or 7 feet off the ground, and I'm having a great afternoon. I hope you are wherever you are. Anyway, picking up from where I left off in the last vlog, The Choice, I talked about the fact that we have an archaic and honestly useless program running in the back of our heads that Dr. Marissa Peer, famed psychologist, calls I Am Not Enough. And this program can not only leave us with a sense of inadequacy and worthlessness, but it can also really distort our reality. And it can make us miserable in perpetuity. So I recalled how at some point I came up against the truth that I didn't feel like enough, that I was living my life according to somebody else's standards and expectations of me, and that in order to be happy, I had to make a choice. I had to either keep living that way and avoid everything that I was hiding about myself that I didn't think was good enough, or to stop hiding, stop running, and face the monsters. So that's exactly what I did. And they say that, knowing is half the battle, but it's often overlooked exactly how big of a battle still remains. But fear not, I found another source to help inspire us all and give us a little bit of an edge in our own personal journeys to better ourselves and live more happy and fulfilled lives. And that was found in the work of another psychologist, Dr. Mel Robbins. In 2011, she gave an amazing TEDx lecture that's been viewed over 11 million times. Honestly, about 50 of those views are probably mine. Her lecture called How to Stop Screwing Yourself Over, in which she talks about how more than a third of Americans feel stuck or dissatisfied with their lives. And much like Dr. Peer, Dr. Robbins specializes in helping people out of a negative state using very simple yet effective methods. She talks about, in her speech, activation energy, which is the amount of energy it takes to begin a task. From pouring a drink to climbing a mountain, all human activities require physical and mental energy to not just begin, but also to maintain. Now, she points out that the reason that most people feel stuck in their lives is because the brain tends to hit what's called an inner snooze button whenever it knows it's about to become uncomfortable. See, activation energy is great to get you started, but once you get into a new habit, a new routine, your brain can just kind of coast into automatic mode. And every time there's a little stirring underneath that something needs to change, the brain senses it's going to become uncomfortable, it hits what Dr. Robbins calls that inner snooze button and just goes back to routine. So that feeling doesn't quite go away until you really stop and turn and face it. Much like Dr. Peer, if you check the links below in the last vlog, you'll get to see some of her lectures. Dr. Peer says that we need to make the unfamiliar familiar and the familiar unfamiliar. And this is a very similar concept to what Dr. Robbins talks about. She admonished her audience to not only get up the second their alarm goes off, but also to get up 30 minutes earlier. Now, she justifies this seemingly masochistic task by saying that the amount of activation energy it takes to fling your body out of a warm bed into a cold room is the same amount of activation energy it takes to have that uncomfortable conversation with a relative or file the paperwork you need to start your business. She says it is very, very simple to get what you want, but it is not easy. You have to force yourself to do it if you really want things to change. Now, growing up, in my earlier life, passing judgment on others and myself was very familiar. But to accept myself and things as they were was really uncomfortable and bizarre. Now, it's taken me some time, but I feel like the situation has really flipped in my head. The program has gone the other way, and I've been working really hard at getting into that new routine. I'm seeing the value in what Thich Nhat Hanh said in his book, Spiritual Ecology, The Cry of the Earth. The world is not a problem to be solved. It is a living being to which we belong. The world is part of our own self, and we are a part of its suffering wholeness. Until we go to the root of our image of separateness, there can be no healing. And the deepest part of our separateness from creation lies in our forgetfulness of its sacred nature, which is also our own sacred nature. See, once we learn to appreciate all the good, bad, and in between as the complete swath of colors, shades, and gradients on the palette of a creative force that we really can control, we come to understand that we are simply the mirror for the world around us. Now, while it seems counterintuitive to try to appreciate horrors such like robbery, rape, and murder, we need to understand that the physical tragedies in the world are no less horrific than what we do to ourselves on an emotional basis all the time. As Dr. Robbins says, you would not hang out with somebody who talks to you the way you talk to yourself. By releasing judgment of one, we do release judgment of the other. And we accept not only the world as it is, but ourselves as we are, for all our faults and failings. Now, I'm not saying that horrific crimes like the ones I mentioned are justifiable. I'm saying that they're part of a cycle that's difficult to break out of. But eventually, in all phases, the subjective bad is replaced by the subjective good and back again. It really does keep going. That old phrase, "this too shall pass," really does apply. I often hate quoting platitudes, but it works. It's true. I'm saying the darkness has its place in totality of existence. We need to acknowledge that existence is ceaselessly, perfectly complete. What's most important is not just how we deal with it, but how we view it, because one is dependent on another. I really can't overstate it any more than that. Once we accept ourselves as we are, and we can accept the world as it is, then we stand a chance of being able to do something about it. I'm going to pick this up another time. I want to thank you for listening in to my words, however you heard or read them. And if you like what you heard here, please comment, share, subscribe. If you hate what you heard here and you want to argue with me, please comment, share, subscribe. And I would love to keep the conversation going. We'll be picking this up another time with you really soon from beautiful and chilly Long Island. I want to wish you all peace, love, and protein pancakes. Talk to everybody really soon.